There's a quiet discomfort some people carry that never quite earns a name. It's not anxiety exactly, not depression, not fear. It's more like friction. The sense that everything takes more effort than it should, that conversations leave you tired, that decisions echo longer than they need to, that the world never really goes quiet. You notice it early. Other people seem able to move on. They commit quickly. They forget quickly. They recover quickly. Meanwhile, your mind keeps circling back, not because you want it to, because it doesn't know how to stop. You replay moments that didn't matter. You project outcomes that never arrive. You notice contradictions and loose ends where others see closure. And eventually, you start wondering whether something is wrong with you. That question alone becomes heavy. Because you're not failing at life. You're functioning, just at a cost most people don't pay. What no one tells you is that this discomfort isn't emotional. It's structural. Your mind is doing more work than it was designed to do continuously. And it's been doing it for a long time. Every moment, your nervous system is flooded with information far beyond conscious reach. Sensations, memories, predictions, threat signals, social interpretation. All of it arrives at once. If even a fraction of that reached awareness unfiltered, you wouldn't be thoughtful. You'd be immobilized. So the brain edits, relentlessly. It trims detail, smooths contradictions, suppresses noise, keeps only what allows movement without hesitation. What survives that process becomes experience, and layered on top of that experience is something even stranger. A story, a sense of continuity, a feeling of being someone. Not because there is a central author pulling the strings, but because without a simplified narrative, nothing would cohere. That story doesn't exist to be accurate. It exists to keep the system operational. Most people live comfortably inside that edited version of reality. But some minds don't compress as aggressively. They leave more information intact, more context, more contradiction, more unresolved signal. The difference isn't intelligence in the way people usually mean it. It's resolution. How much detail the system keeps before it decides, that's enough. Higher resolution doesn't feel like clarity. It feels like weight. Every thought carries excess detail. Every possibility branches into more possibilities. Every conclusion feels provisional. You don't just think about what's happening. You think about what it means, what it could become, what it implies 5 steps down the line. Your mind runs simulations you never consciously asked for. Conversations replay with alternate interpretations. Decisions fracture into parallel timelines. Small choices feel disproportionate because you see too many outcomes at once. From the outside, this looks like overthinking. From the inside, it feels like responsibility. As if failing to account for everything would be careless. But this constant modeling consumes energy. Your brain doesn't get to idle. Even rest becomes another state to analyze. That's why sleep doesn't always reset you. Why downtime doesn't always restore you. Why distraction never fully works. The system never powers down. Other people don't experience this because their minds close loops earlier. They don't suppress information deliberately. The information never makes it in. Their awareness stays close to what's immediate, concrete, actionable. And because of that, they carry less cognitive load through the day. There's a strange assumption in modern culture that awareness is always better. that seeing more automatically makes life richer. But awareness has a carrying cost. When you don't model distant threats, they don't tax your nervous system. When you don't simulate hypothetical disasters, they don't haunt your mood. When you don't question every structure, those structures quietly support you. Some people live almost entirely in the present without effort. Not because they're disciplined, because nothing pulls them out of it. Their minds don't drag tomorrow into today. They don't emotionally inhabit futures they can't influence. They don't punish themselves for possibilities that never materialize. This isn't denial, it's containment. Their awareness stays within a range their nervous system can sustain, and that makes daily life lighter. When your awareness exceeds that range, the world starts to feel hostile, even when it isn't. The news feels personal. Global instability feels intimate. Abstract risk feels immediate. You weren't meant to feel all of that at once. This difference shows up most clearly in relationships. Some people meet others directly, emotion to emotion, moment to moment. Others meet them through interpretation. Tone gets examined. Motives get inferred. Subtext becomes louder than what's said. You don't just feel a moment, you observe yourself having it. That split creates distance. Not emotional distance, cognitive distance. You're present, but part of you is watching, evaluating, contextualizing. It makes intimacy harder to sustain, not because you're guarded, but because awareness interferes. Meanwhile, other people stay immersed. They don't need certainty to commit. They don't need clarity to belong. They don't need to understand why something works, to let it work. Presence does the labor for them. That's why loyalty comes more easily to some people. Not because they're uncritical, but because they don't continuously recalculate. Once something is chosen, it stays chosen. That stability compounds. Why this work? Why this structure? Those questions don't emerge from wisdom. They emerge from detachment. Living becomes something you analyze instead of inhabit. Routine, which stabilizes most people, starts to feel suffocating. Repetition feels wasteful instead of grounding. But most of the world depends on repetition. Systems don't survive on insight. They survive on reliability. People who can show up, do the same task, and not dissolve into existential doubt halfway through. That ability keeps civilization running. And it only works when awareness stays within limit. Large systems have no interest in depth. They require predictability. Roles that don't drift. Identities that don't fracture under scrutiny. People who don't renegotiate meaning every morning. High-resolution perception disrupts that. It slows decisions, complicates hierarchy, introduces hesitation where momentum is required. So those minds feel misaligned, not attacked, not excluded outright, just out of sync. They feel restless where others feel settled, isolated where others feel embedded, exhausted where others feel fine. And the mistake most people make at this point is turning that misalignment inward, assuming it means they're defective. There's nothing here to optimize, no technique to recommend, no mindset to adopt, no promise that this gets easier. This isn't a self-help story. It's a trade-off. Seeing more costs more. Thinking deeper isolates. Awareness creates friction. The version of yourself you experience was never designed to be truthful. It was designed to be workable. And workability depends on how much reality the system can hold without overheating. If life feels heavier for you, It isn't because you're failing. It's because you're carrying more of it than most people ever touch.